My delicious skin, and this video is brought to you by Irish Spring. I get asked all the time about my skincare routine. People want to know, Gavin, what's your secret? How do you keep your skin looking so good? Well, I'll tell you, it's Irish Spring. Every time I shower, I use it on my face. No serums, no 10-step regimens, just Irish Spring. And it works. My skin stays clean, refreshed, and balanced. A lot of skincare products promise hydration, deep cleansing, even anti-aging benefits. Irish Spring, it just does the job. It keeps my skin looking and feeling incredible without the hassle. So if you're overcomplicating your skincare, maybe it's time to simplify. Trust me, Irish Spring, it's all you need. Welcome everyone. So glad you're here. Especially thankful to our wonderful sponsors who make this program possible. My name is Gavin. You have found my channel. I'm glad you did. It's the channel where we cut past sensationalism and fluff. Sometimes plant our tongues firmly in our cheeks, like tonight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. That was fun to make today. Hey, let's get away from all this jocularity, shall we? Let's hop into a case. This is the second part of the series of taking a look at Mickey Stein's deposition. But of course, we need to start by pointing out the obvious and the most important part, and that is that a man is dead. And it is this man, Judge Kevin Mullins. Judge Mullins was a district court judge out in Letcher County, Kentucky, who was shot and killed by Sheriff Mickey Steins on camera. This case is not a whodunit. This is a case of why you done it. And we've been trying to figure that out. I have to say I've not figured it out yet, but the deposition that we're looking at definitely is giving us some clues. And that reminds me, I need to open up my notes. I made some notes about this deposition tonight. All right, got them open. Okay, so just real quick, Judge Mullins was shot to death on September 19th of last year. So what has that been? 5 months, something like that. He was shot to death in his chambers by the sheriff of the town and his former bailiff and reported friend, Mickey Steins. And Mickey Steins is now inmate Steins in Leon County, a nearby county there, down there in northeastern Kentucky. Now I'm questioning myself. I think it's northeastern Kentucky. And he is awaiting trial in the murder of Mickey Steins. Now, we've been asking ourselves, why did you do it, Mickey Steins? Sheriff Steins, why'd you do it? And it may have to do with a criminal case, which then parlayed into a civil case against one of his deputies, a guy named Ben Fields. Now, Ben Fields was convicted. He is a registered offender. You guys know what I mean? Registered. And he was the bailiff in charge of the ankle monitor system, the house arrest system in Letcher County. His predecessor, none other than Sheriff Steins. When Sheriff Steins was elected sheriff, he had to give up those duties. That went to Ben Fields. Now, Ben, it is alleged in the civil complaint, and he pleaded guilty in the criminal complaint, was abusing female inmates. He was asking them to trade favors in order to get favorable treatment on the house arrest program. So the Thursday that Mickey Steins did this to Judge Mullins, was 3 days after he was deposed in the civil case against Ben Fields. And that's where we are. If you're asking yourself, why did Mickey Steins kill Judge Mullins? You are asking the $64,000 question. That is the question that we all want to know the answer to. And I think that there are some clues in this deposition. So let's head on over to the deposition. Before we do, let's take a break. Let's take a break real quick. I want to see what you guys think of our sponsor today. Let's see how you guys reacted to that. I think we have a terrific sponsor tonight. It is My Beauty Secret that you guys had been apparently wondering for a while. It's a bit too sexy, maybe. Oh, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Oh my goodness. Yes, you guys enjoyed it. I am glad. Yes, we've got, yes, Demon Hugger. Yes. Okay, good. I'm glad you guys enjoyed that. What is this one from KG? That is funny. Okay, good deal. All right, let's head on over to the deposition here. Let's see. We want to bring this up a little bit. Okay. So just to introduce the players here, the plaintiffs in this case are represented by a man named Ned Pillersdorf and his law partner, and her name is Ms. Baxter, Bethany Baxter, and they represent Sabrina Adkins and Jennifer Hill. Now, these are two women who were, I guess I should say allegedly. He pleaded guilty to doing this. So these are two of the women that Ben Fields abused. Okay? Now, when we look at this, Sabrina Adkins et al., so it's Sabrina and the estate of Jennifer Hill, because Jennifer Hill is now deceased. And then Ben Fields et al., the et al. Portion of that et al. Is Mickey Steins. Okay, so Mickey Steins. Also, there's a company that's involved here. It's the, Eastern Kentucky Correction Solutions, whatever it is. Okay, so they are represented by Ms. Baxter and Mr. Pillersdorf, and then we have Mr. Shaw, Mr. Dotson, Mr. Williams, and Mr. Jones, who are representing the defendants in this case. We went through about the first half yesterday, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip down to page 99. I have read this whole thing, and there are just some places that I want to cover it. After tonight's live stream, I'm going to go ahead and add it to Patreon. So if you are a patron of mine, you will have access to the entire thing if you want it, okay? So let's start on line 12. This is everywhere where there's a Q, that's Ms. Baxter, who is asking a question of Mickey Steins. Okay. She says right here, when did you first become aware of the fact that Ben Fields had engaged in some sort of sexual misconduct? He answers, I don't remember the exact date. Well, do you recall becoming aware of it? A reporter called the office and I talked to them on the phone. Do you remember who the reporter was? No. I guess that was after the civil case had been filed. I had not received the civil case. That was the first time I heard of it, was the reporter. Now, real quick, this is not, in my experience, it is not uncommon for me as a reporter to, go through the criminal complaints that have been filed in the court, go through the new cases in the court, find a case, and then make a call to the defendants to get their comment before I report on it, and find that the defendants did not know that they were party to either a lawsuit or a criminal complaint. It doesn't happen every time, but it happens enough. So that strikes me as true. Question, do you know who Chris Triplett is? Yes, I know Chris. Okay, were you aware that he had reported sexual misconduct by Ben Fields to the Letcher County Sheriff's Department sometime in mid-December? No, I was not aware of that. Did you become aware of that at some point in this litigation? He says, I've seen it on the reports. Now remember that Mr. Pillersdorf described Mickey Stein's behavior as erratic, as not typical for a law enforcement officer when they are sued. Law enforcement officers, like sheriffs, are sued on the regular. It's a frequent thing for them. And he said they typically are combative. They are, comfortable answering questions. And I think we learned in the first part, yesterday's video, that Mickey Steins was dodging questions. And I think we see that in, continuing on through the rest of the deposition. Okay, so he says, no, I wasn't aware of Mr. Triplett's December report. Did you learn about it during the litigation? Yeah, I saw it on reports. Have you ever asked your staff or talked to other deputy sheriffs to inquire whether that complaint had been made? Yes. Okay, and what was the response that you got? His answer, they said that he did not come in and file that complaint. What did they tell you? He says he has been in the office several times. He has been in trouble for years. I've seen him a bunch, and he has never mentioned any kind of allegation. Okay. Does your office have any kind of procedure for documenting complaints if someone was to come in or call the office and make a complaint about sexual misconduct against a sheriff's deputy? Is there some sort of process for how that gets documented and investigated? He says anyone that comes in to file a complaint, they're going to ask them to sit and wait on me and talk to me. Is that a written policy somewhere? Not that I recall. Okay, so, and I'm going to keep going here, but it has become evident to me that Mickey Steins ran this place like it was, nothing was official. It was just kind of a fraternity that served warrants and did security in the jail, but it wasn't really an investigative agency where they actually took notes and filed reports and compiled case files or anything like that. It just, no, they were going to ask to sit down and talk to me. That was it. Was it a written policy? Not that I recall. Okay, how did you advise your deputy sheriffs and staff that is what they needed to do? I would tell them, I'm the boss. If anybody comes in to complain, I want to talk to them. Okay, how often are you physically in the office? Every day. So you are usually in the office, you are not out, patrolling the street? He says, yeah, I'll respond to calls, absolutely. Unlocks, wrecks and stuff, but the majority of the time I am in the office pushing paperwork and stuff like that. Well, if you're pushing paperwork, then you're making reports. Why would there be no report? I guess his point of view would be because he didn't come in and do that. But okay. Question. Okay, so I guess it is your testimony that you are aware that Chris Triplett has been in your office to complain about various things on some occasions, but not specifically about Ben Fields? And he says, I don't complain. Well, tell me why that would be in your office. We serve warrants, we serve EPOs, we take property tax. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we would be in. He has been a criminal in the criminal environment for years. We have always had to deal with him and stuff. So, okay, I was wondering if he was to show up to your office, has he ever showed up to your office to complain about anything to your knowledge? I don't recall. Now, that is the golden dodge, guys. It's the golden dodge. He's not answering yes or no. He's saying, I don't remember. And you can't prove somebody's memory or disprove somebody's memory, right? I mean, I learned about this when I was young. It was during the whole Bill Clinton presidency, where he was just skillfully avoiding a lot of things in his whole kerfuffle by saying I don't recall. And that has become I became aware of that now. It's been 30 years, right? That is a strategy. I don't recall. Okay, question. Let's look at this policy. And this is not one that we looked at. Document is marked as Exhibit 7. Do you recognize this policy? Yes. Okay, was this policy in effect between 2019 and 2022? Yes. And so this looks to be a policy about how you address citizen complaints. My first question is, have you ever employed this policy to investigate any kind of citizen complaint to your recollection? Not that I recall. His lawyer jumps in. This will be Exhibit 7. Okay. Ms. Baxter says, have you ever been made aware, aside from the reporter who called you up to notify you about Ben Fields, can you think of any other situation where you were made aware of a complaint alleging employee or department misconduct? He says, ask me that again. Sorry. Okay. Aside from Ben Fields, were there any other instance that you can recall when you made aware of a complaint alleging employee or department misconduct since you have been sheriff? His answer, I've received nothing formal in writing, but the county attorney tells me if somebody was to file a complaint, to put it in writing. Well, says Ms. Baxter, this policy doesn't require complaints to be in writing, does it? And I'm looking under procedure on the second page, sources of complaint. That does not require a complaint to be made in writing, correct? And he answers, that is correct. Now, obviously, you guys know this. Come on. When things aren't put in writing, when they aren't made a record, there isn't a written record of things, those things get lost, right? So if Mr. Triplett, who, by the way, I think is the fiance of Jennifer Hill, and also, well, let me finish this thought. If Mr. Triplett did indeed go into the sheriff's office and complain about what was happening by Ben Fields to his fiance, Jennifer Hill, and the sheriff's office wanted to cover that up, what they would do is not record anything, right? That's what they would do. And I was going to say, well, what I was going to say is he brought up that Mr. Triplett was a criminal and part of the criminal element. So I think it's probably natural for a law enforcement officer who interacts with the same people day in and day out. These people are in and out of court. They're in and out of jail. They're on probation, then they're not on probation. And they've got the same things going on year after year after year after year. I'm sure that it is easy to become jaded to that whole person and to discount what it is that they are saying. But that is part of the discipline, right? That law enforcement, there has to be some sort of discipline to record these things. Yeah. So let's take a pause from reading this. Let's take a look at your comments here real quick. Let's get this. Let's bring up Mr. Mullins here real quick. Okay. Let's see. KG says, Gavin, I call BS on that report not being made. Maybe he deliberately didn't document it because it makes him look bad. Yeah, and I honestly believe that Mr. Fields, his deputy, and Sheriff Steins were buddy-buddy, and we're going to get into this a little bit later. Yeah, I don't buy it either. I mean, I'm just trying to extend a little grace, maybe play devil's advocate. Is it possible that they've just become jaded to it and they just don't want to write anything down about the same people again. It's possible, but I'm with you, KG. Demon Hugger's friend, Todd McGill, says definitely an easy deflection. I don't recall. Patty Olson, hearkening back, you like the Irish Spring. I'm glad you do. It's pretty funny. Tanya says that the commercial is Super Bowl worthy. Awesome. All right, let's see. New merch. Beware the Golden Dodge. Oh, yeah. Hey, I've got somebody working on merch here, guys. I know that it's a thing that people are asking for, but we're working on it. It's not going to be quick, but we're working on it. And thank you guys for wanting to support the channel that way. Okie dokie. Let's head on back over to the next thing that I wanted to hop into, and that takes us to page 117, I think. So 117, we're going to go line 18. Here we go. Okay, Ms. Baxter asking a question. Do you recognize this communication chain? Mr. Stein says yes. And this is a Facebook communication chain between yourself, Ben Fields, and Jason Eccles. Yes. Is this a Facebook communication chain from June 14th, 2021 through June 15th, 2021? And he says, I don't know if it's the 15th. I see the 14th. I think if you keep going, and then Mr. Dodson jumps in, are you talking about the one on top, the 23rd? Answer, are you talking about in the messages? Yeah, I'm trying to get the full time frame that we're talking about here. Yeah, that is what it looks like. Okay. Did you use Facebook Messenger to communicate with deputy sheriffs about work-related matters? Some, yes. I think this was a group that was specific to yourself, Ben Fields, and Jason Eccles, correct? Yes. Were there other chains that included other sheriff department employees? This one is just yourself, Fields, and Eccles. Based on our recollection, were there other messenger groups that included more of the office generally? And he answers, you had that one you give me that had Christine in it. Okay, so does that, I don't know, something jog your recollection? Sure. Yes. Question, I think you entitled this group Fat Boys. Do you see that at the top? Yes, ma'am. Okay, why did you call it that? His answer, look at me. Right? Okay, so Mickey is, and I'm not casting shade, you guys know me, but Mickey and Ben, both overweight dudes, right? So he called it Fat Boys. Question, was there another group called Office? If you can recall. Answer, I can't recall. I've got to use the bathroom. Sure, we can take a break. So I think that he's getting nervous here. Needs a break. Maybe wants to talk to his attorneys a little bit. Yeah, I think he's uncomfortable with the line of questioning about Facebook. And we're going to keep going on this for another 6 or 7 pages. Okay, break was taken. We come back. Ms. Baxter says, do you see towards the bottom of the first page? I'm going to use the markings at the top for reference. So this is page 1187. Jason says, I misread it at first and thought it said Mickey's Boys. Do you see that? Mr. Dotson says, third paragraph from the bottom. Mickey Stein says, yes. Okay, great. Did you consider Eccles and Fields your boys or Mickey's boys? No, they are my employees. Okay. Did you have any sort of special relationship with them that was more close than other deputies? His answer, no, they're all my friends. They're all my work family, you know. We have cookouts together as an office. We try. This is very childish, but it is a way for us to make fun of each other and just release some stress. You know, when I consulted with my attorney after I'd seen the exhibits in Mr. Fields' case, and I have eliminated all of that, and I have talked to everybody verbally and did a verbal reprimand, and it will never happen again. Okay, so he's getting ahead of this, right? We haven't even gotten into what the content is. He's like, hey, listen, I learned from this. Ever since Mr. Fields had his criminal issues, I've learned from this. We've never done it again. I reprimanded everybody, I guess himself included. Never happen again. So Ms. Baxter then goes, so you have done that since this past weekend when we took Mr. Fields' deposition? Okay, he had just done it. Yes. Ms. Baxter, in June of 2021, Eccles and Fields were both working as deputy sheriffs, correct? Yes. And they were the only two deputy sheriffs who were invited to be part of this specific group, correct? See, I can't answer that. Interesting. Okay, you don't remember? He says, if I put somebody in the group and they leave, I don't have documentation of that. You know, people add me to groups all the time on Facebook for yard sales and stuff, and I leave. So she goes, well, let's look at that. Do you dispute that these were conversations that you had with Jason Eccles and Ben Fields back in June of 2021? No, I don't dispute it. Okay, I'm looking now to the page marked at the top, 1,190. It looks like you guys are discussing some sheriff's deputy duties related to serving an EPO. I think that's an emergency protection order, and a DEO. Not sure what that is. On Stevie Wynn. Do you see that? I guess it's not really germane. It doesn't matter. He says, yeah. Okay. What you were discussing there that would be part of Mr. Eccles and Ben Fields' duties as deputy sheriffs, correct? He answers, who sent that? She goes, if you look at the page before, it looks like Jason Eccles is referencing. He answers, yes, that would be their duties serving EPO. Question, Jason Eccles says, on this page, I busted the window out and left a note that said, Mr. Steins appreciates your business, and left. Do you see that? I mean, guys, like that smacks, wrong button, Gavin. That smacks of flaunting power in a small place. Like we are the big fish here. I am Sheriff Stein's deputy. Whether he did it or not, right? That smacks of an attitude of we are the big fish in this pond. And that leads to corruption, that leads to abuse of power. And I'm really glad that, I mean, I think Mickey was freaking out after this deposition because there's a lot of damning stuff here. Okay. Okay, so she's like, you know, he left the note and said, Mr. Steins appreciates your business, you know, broke the window out. Did you see that? Yes. Was that a joke, or do you think that he actually did that? No, that was a joke. Do you think that was funny? He says, if he had really done that, no. Knowing Mr. Eccles, it was a joke. He is childish. Did you ever discipline him or reprimand him for being childish in any of the communications that are on these messages? I have talked to him, yes. When did you talk to him? I have talked to him during this too, when he makes crazy memes and stuff. You know, we go overboard and I tell them that they've got to relax, quit being childish. Let's be more professional. Question, is there any sort of documentation of you telling them that? No, it's verbal. Again, if it's excuse me, I bit my tongue. That hurt. If it's verbal, there's no documentation of it. However, in any company that I have worked for, even a verbal reprimand gets documented. Verbal reprimand was done on this date at this time for this reason. That gets documented, and he is not doing any of that. They're running it like it's a fraternity. Okay, question. Did they stop after you told them that they were being childish and they had gone too far? Did you answer that question? He says they have stopped. I think that's what he said. They have stopped. They have stopped now is what that says. Okay, when is now? Right now. As in since last week? Yeah. Ben Fields was terminated back in 2022, right? Yes. And remember, this happened September 15th-ish, right? What page are we on? 123? Let me go back here. This happened September 16th. And Judge Mullins was shot and killed by Mickey Steins on the 19th. Okay, so he's like, okay, so Ben Fields was terminated back in 2022, right? Yes. And I guess Jason Eccles still works there? Yes. Has he continued with this kind of joking, childish behavior up through last week when you told him it was time to stop? Yes. So it's been 2 years. Was a lot of that done through Facebook Messenger communications? I don't recall. Let's see. I'm still going. Question. I'm looking at page marked 1191. It looks like a naked policeman. It looks to be an image that Jason Eccles sent to you and Ben Fields on June 14th. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, what was your response to him sending that image? Good morning, boys, LOL. Yes. So you thought it was funny? Yes. Okay, did you give him any kind of response to that image aside from LOL? Not that I recall. I think that I asked him if that he had court. So you guys go on about discussing deputy sheriff related duties there? Let me see. I'm just looking at the next one to make sure it is the right page. What was your question? I asked you if you have him any sort of response other than LOL, and I think you said no. And then I asked, you referenced that you talked about going to court. No, just if he has court. Okay. I mean, schedule. Okay. So you just went on talking about work related. Yeah, trying to get away from the childish behavior. Mr. Shaw jumps in. Note on Exhibit 10. I will object to the relevance. I don't know what this has to do with the case. Ms. Baxter, that is fine. I think it is relevant. Mr. Shaw, I think it is intended to annoy, embarrass, or harass this witness by using private messages and trying to get it into a public record. But we can take that up later if that we need to. Man, the grammar. I'm having a hard time. These are lawyers, man. Okay, says Ms. Baxter. The next one that I have got is the one marked 1218 at the top, and I will pass you a clean copy. I have got one extra copy. Is that number 11? Correct. So the document is marked as 11. Give me a second here, guys. So does this also to be some messages between yourself and Fields and Jason Eccles dated, I guess, June 18th of 2021? Yes. Okay, and it looks like by my read, Deputy Eccles and Deputy Fields are discussing some transports to Hazard. Yes. Okay, and Ben Fields writes, I think they both like same sex though. Jason Eccles writes, you can like freaky sex, and Jason Eccles responds, hardcore. Were they discussing the sexual orientation or sexual proclivities of these persons who they're about to transport? Answer, I can't answer that. I don't know. Which is a dodge, complete dodge. She goes, well, you received the messages back in June of 2021. I don't know who they would be talking about, if not the persons who they're about to transport, but I am wondering what your interpretation is or was when you read it. He answers, he answers, to be honest with you, I don't read a lot of these because they're so childish. If you will look mine, I don't read a lot of them. I get a lot of messages that I don't even pay attention to. That's what he says. Okay. All right, let's see what you guys are saying over here in the comments. Let's see. Let me just refresh things here. See if there's anything. Polo's mama says, Gavin, I'm glad to catch you live. By the way, I'm reading Mother Tongue. I'm happy. It's a great book, really funny. Thanks again for your podcast. Yeah, happy to do it. See if there's anything else. Royal Order of the Frank. Royal Order of the Frank. Guys, let me pause here for a moment. Royal Order of the Frank did indeed reach out to me on my website telling me where the Royal Order of the Frank came from. Because you will remember that he said, I didn't want to be a member of the Royal Order of the Frank. I just want to go on record saying right now, I still would love to be a member of the Royal Order. Anyway, Royal Order of the Frank says, Gavin, possibly the people under the sheriff didn't tell him because they didn't believe the report or didn't want to tell the sheriff. Yeah, I think that's possible. Yeah, I think it's possible. Krista Marie says, Gavin, a lot of message he doesn't pay attention to. I don't buy it. Yeah, I don't either. Remember, it was just 3 days later, 16, 17, 18, 19, 3 days later, that Mickey Steins goes into Judge's chambers and shoots him, I think 7 times, maybe 8 times. Shoots him dead. All with in the frame of he's being sued because of behavior by one of his deputies and the allegations made by Sabrina Adkins that Judge Mullins was part of it. And the question that we keep coming back to is, why did he do it? And I still don't think that we have the answer to that. All right, let's go over to page 130. And it is line 1. We're going to do 4 pages. Okay. Ms. Baxter, this is the page marked 1649. Do you recall ever sent or received any of these communications that we have looked at thus far during work hours? I can't recall. I mean, I work all of the time. Okay, well, at least based on these couple of pages, it looks like it is yourself and someone named Seth Whitaker. Is he a deputy sheriff? Not anymore. Okay, was he back on August 11th of 2021? Yes. Why is he no longer with the sheriff's department? He found better employment. Okay, it looks like you sent him a photo. It is on the second page showing a building with a big sign that says Mouse's Ear. Yes. What is a Mouse's Ear? He answers, a strip club. Yeah, I Googled it and it says that it is a strip club in Johnson City. Does that sound correct? Yes. Have you ever been there? Years ago, yes. Have you ever been there with anybody else that works with the sheriff's department? Absolutely not. Did you send that to your deputy sheriff because you thought it was funny? Yes. So he's engaging in the childish behavior too. All right. This one is marked 8,906 at the top. Question. This to me looks like a conversation between yourself, Deputy Fields, and Deputy Eccles. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, and it looks like Jason Eccles sends an image with a joke referencing penis size. Is that accurate, looking at the second page? Yes. Okay, and then he writes, I figured this would be better here, LOL. Do you know what he meant when he said this would be better here? Answer, no, not that I recall. Okay, and then you wrote to him, that was funny. Do you see that on the third page? Is that coming from me? On the third page, yeah, it has got your name at the bottom of 8907, and at the top of 8908, it says that was funny. I think that statement is attributed to you, but would you agree? That is funny, or that statement is attributed to me? Did you say in this chain that that was funny? Yes. Okay, and were you talking about the penis size joke that Deputy Eccles sent? Is that correct? He says that is what it says here. And then you also have a reference that you say, and that picture that Ben done was great. Did you see that? Yes. Do you know what picture that you were referring to? No, not that I recall. Okay. So this is from August 19th of 2021. Yes. Let's look at the next exhibit. So this is the one marked 1697. And it's marked as 15. Okay, this was also dated August 19, 2021, correct? Yes. Okay, and this looks to be some communications between yourself, Deputy Eccles, Deputy Norris from my read. Yes. So it looks like, first, the way that I read this you sent a photo of maybe like a Greek statue, some sort of Greek statue that is on the page marked 1698. Yes. And then later you sent another image where it looks to be the same statue, but it has got your face on it, Deputy Eccles' face, and I believe maybe Deputy Norris's face. Is that correct? Yes. Do you remember who created that image? Not that I recall. Where do I want to go to? Okay. Do you know why that you sent that image to your deputies? He says, for blowing off a little steam, picking on each other. How are you picking on them in this picture? Mr. Shaw, continuing objection to relevance. Go ahead. Answer, we're just aggravating each other. I mean, and then that's kind of where it goes. So I guess what we're seeing here, guys, is just it's a pattern of just childish behavior. And he was pointing at the field, or his deputies acting childish, but indeed it was also him. And it does appear that there was just a lot of locker room talk. And I wonder if that environment would lead Deputy Fields to believe that it would be okay for him to do the things that he did. And I think that that's the argument that they're probably going to try to make against Mickey Steins here, right? That he created an atmosphere that was, I don't know, locker room, sexualized, whatever. And it was within that environment that Ben Fields did what he did. Let's bring up Judge again. Head on back over to your comments. Let's see. Oh my goodness, we are getting off topic, but I'm going to go. Gavin, try Nioxin. It grows the hair and makes it more fluffy and thicker. Early menopause at 42. That's funny. SD says, Gavin, unfortunate and sad. I think a lot of small town police departments have such sophomoric fraternity culture and are borderline corrupt. Yeah, I do too. And I also think that it's more common to have law enforcement agencies where the vast majority of the staff are men. I do think that law enforcement is a career path that probably is appealing to a certain type of man in general. I mean, there will be exceptions to this, of course, but I mean, when I'm at the courthouse and I'm seeing the deputies walking around the courthouse, you know, they're providing security or whatever they're doing at the courthouse. I mean, I can tell that they're all ex-military. There's only one or two that aren't. Like there's a very specific type of personality that is drawn to law enforcement. And I think that because they're all of the same kind of personality type, they're all the same sex, that it creates this environment where people feel okay misbehaving. Becca says, Gavin, I think you're right. It was safe for Fields. Well, I'm glad you agree. I think I'm probably right there. Okay, Chrissy says Nioxin works. Yeah, my hair is getting long, but I'm an old man with a giant forehead, and it's starting to look just absolutely ridiculous. All right, let's go back to the third thing that I wanted to go. How much time have we got? Oh man, I'm going way slower today. All right, we may not get to everything today, but let's go to 137, line 12. Okay. They come back from a break. Ms. Baxter says, we just listened to about 4 or 5 minutes of an audio recording that we got through open records from the Attorney General's office. Do you recognize the voice on the recording? Yes. Was that Brianna Cornett? Yes. Okay, and did you hear her twice reference her mother speaking to you about her issues with Ben Fields? Yes. Okay, is her mother named Christy Foltz? Yes, I believe so. So do you recall who Christy Foltz when Christy Foltz came to you and talked to you about Brianna Cornett's issue with Ben Fields? Answer, no. She has never come to me and talked to me about issues with Brianna. So does your testimony that Christy Foltz never made that report to you? He asked, of the sexual allegations? I think that was, I heard on the recording was that Christy Foltz went to you and said, I have to live in this town, but I know why he won't give it to her, talking about Brianna Cornett back on home incarceration. I don't recall that conversation with Miss Foltz. Again, you know what? Hey, if you're in Letcher County, guys, if you're in Letcher County, you got to record the police, man. I mean, it's a good idea anyway. It's a very good idea anyway. And remember that if they are public officials doing their public duty, they do not have to consent to being recorded. They do not have an expectation of privacy. And I'm not a lawyer giving you advice here. This is just my understanding. They don't have an expectation of privacy when they are a public official doing public duties. You guys need to record this stuff. And like I'm not blaming you guys for having not done it. You should be able to depend on your law enforcement officials to do the right thing, right? To record everything, to report it, to investigate it. But this office obviously isn't doing that thing. They're not doing it. So y'all need to record everything now. This is terrible. So he's like, I don't recall that conversation with Miss Foltz. Ms. Baxter, I think that you said earlier that Brianna Cornett did have a lot of run-ins with the law over the years. Were most of those drug-related to the best of your knowledge? Yes. Was she ever on home incarceration when you were the home incarceration officer? I don't recall. Okay. Talk about another document here, and then it is going to be Exhibit 17. I'll give you a chance to review it if you have not seen it before. Okay. I want to ask you specifically about paragraphs 5 and 6. But first, have you ever seen this affidavit before? I can't recall. Do you know Chris Triplett? Yes. How do you know him? Criminal record. Okay, what do you know about his criminal record? It is long, it is lengthy. Can you be more specific? He has been in the court system a lot. Okay, so in paragraph 5 of this affidavit, he states that on or about December 15th of 2021, he reported the SA of Jennifer Hill by Deputy Fields to the Letcher County Sheriff's Department by telephone and in person at your headquarters downtown. Do you see that? Yes. So what did the Letcher County Sheriff's Department do in response to this report? We didn't receive no report from Mr. Triplett. That's what he says. Have you asked your staff about whether or not that any such report was made back in December of 2021? Yes. What response did you get? No one received any reports to that. When did you ask your staff about that? I don't recall. Was it after this lawsuit was filed or before? It would have been after. So 3 years later. Are you aware on or about December 15th of 2021, Chris Triplett was pulled over by Deputy Norris for having a tinted license plate cover? Were you aware of that? I don't recall. Is Deputy Norris a road officer? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so when did you as Letcher County Sheriff first become aware of these allegations against Ben Fields related to Jennifer Hill? He says, I don't recall. Where am I going to? Still a couple more pages. Okay, if there was a woman who would have picked up the phone at the sheriff's department, do you know who that woman would have been back in December of 2021? He says Christine Bowling or Lashana Frazier. Okay. And are they sort of office support staff or administrative staff? Yes. Can we step out a minute? I need to ask you a question. Haha, so he's getting nervous again. Very nervous. Wants to ask his attorney a question, a break is taken, and then they come back. And Ms. Baxter says, do you recall specifically, and we were still discussing the Chris Triplett report that he describes in his affidavit to the Sheriff's Department. Do you recall whether you talked specifically to Deputy Whitaker about whether he ever received a report about sexual misconduct related to Jennifer Hill and Ben Fields? I can't recall. Is Whitaker still working for the sheriff's department? No. Okay, when did he leave? I don't recall the date. Okay, what about a female? If a female was in uniform at the sheriff's department, does that mean she would have been a deputy? Or do your administrative support staff wear uniforms also? You'd have to be able to tell me what uniform. Like a deputy, there are different types. How many different types of uniforms? Standard, there is a Class A with all of the dress and everything. There is a Class B with BDU bottoms and BDU top. They're a polo like a BDU bottom. What is a BDU? It is like military style pants with a lot of pockets. I guess in December of 2021, what females were working for Letcher County Sheriff's Department who would have worn any kind of those uniforms that you just described? We have talked about Bowling and Frazier, right? Yes. Would either of them have been in any kind of uniform? No. So beyond that, I've seen the names Alexis Stambaugh. Yes. She would have been someone who would have worn a uniform. Have seen the name Destiny Hall? Yes. She would have been a uniformed person? Yes. I think those are the only females that I've seen. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. So anyway, Triplett says that he writes in an affidavit that he reported the essay of Jennifer Hill, and then he was pulled over by Deputy Norris and threatened after that. There's that. How much time? Dude, I'm really going slow today. Yeah, Mooney says, Gavin, if everything is verbal, everything can be denied. Mickey Steins knows this well, in my opinion. I agree. Robert Bernardi. Oddly enough, I never noticed your forehead. We need to get off of Gavin's like grooming and beauty standards, guys. We need to get off of that. We need to get back to the nitty gritty, though I appreciate that you guys, it's my fault. I mean, I made the commercial. It's funny. Okay. Where am I going? I don't think that we're going to be able to do all this, but let's go down to page 185. I'm skipping a couple of spots that I really wanted to go over, but like I said, I'm going to put this up on Patreon so you guys can see the whole thing if you want to read it. All right, so we're going to line 9. Here we go. Okay, Ms. Baxter questioning Mickey Steins again. And then you said that you talked to Judge Mullins. What did you and Judge Mullins talk about? I told him that a lawsuit and stuff had been filed. Did he not already know that? I don't know. And remember, he's alive at this point, right? This hasn't happened, and it's not going to happen for another 3 days. Okay, well, what was your impression when you spoke to him that he was aware of that or was not aware of that prior to your conversation? He said, I can't recall. Okay, so what did you tell him? I can't recall our conversation. What did he tell you? I believe that I went over and told him that Ben wouldn't be there because I had to suspend him because of the lawsuit. I can't remember a lot of details because I was sick. So the conversation that you had, to the best of your recollection, you had at the courthouse, not in your office? I can't remember seeing him at my office. Okay, do you remember how long that you spoke to Judge Mullins? No, I can't remember. Yeah. Aside from that conversation that you had with Judge Mullins on February 1st of 2022, have you had any other conversations with Judge Mullins about Ben Fields and these allegations of misconduct? And he says, I can't recall. So, yeah. I mean, maybe I can go back. Let me just go back. Let me go back to line 150 real quick, or page 150 real quick. Line 6. This one's short. So this is a little earlier in the questioning. This is Ms. Baxter saying, based on what you said earlier, at some point you became aware that Robbie Kinser and Judge Kraft had some knowledge about Ben Fields. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. And do you know whether the information that Robbie Kinzer and Judge Kraft had come from Stacey Yates? That is what they told me. Okay, what else did they tell you? That he had reported some sexual interactions with Mr. Fields and Sabrina Atkins. That something about some messages. Okay, that they were sorry that they didn't come to me sooner. Did they mention Brianna Cornett at that time? Not at that time. Okay, did they mention her later? No, they did mention her at that time. Okay, yeah, they did mention her at that time. And did they give you any of these messages or did have any physical documents to share? I didn't take any of it where I was getting investigation. Did they tell you that they had reported it to anyone before reporting it to you? Not that I recall. Did they tell you how long they had had that information before sharing it with you? Not that I recall. There is some reference to someone trying to get Stacey Yates terminated from drug court. Do you know who that could have been? No idea. I don't work close with drug court. I'm not on the drug court team. Are there any sheriff's deputies that are on the drug court team? No, there's the bailiffs that are upstairs. And where am I going here? Hold on. Oh, almost to the end. And that would be the same folks that you just referenced? My understanding, yes, at that time frame. Okay. Where were you when you had this conversation with Robbie Kinzer and Judge Kraft? In my office. So they walked over to your office from the courthouse? Yes. Was anybody else present for that conversation? Not in my office, no. Okay, did Robbie Kinzer ever tell you that she spoke directly to Robbie Kinzer? That's kind of weird. I don't recall. Who is she? Yeah, did Robbie Kinzer ever tell you that she spoke directly to Brianna Cornett? I don't recall. How long did that meeting between yourself and Judge Kraft and Robbie Kinzer last? I don't recall. Lots of I don't recalls. Yeah. Ooh, I think I do have enough time. Let me just do this last one that I prepared. 161 line 2. Okay, so it looks like you noted that a reporter called you and notified you of the lawsuit. Did you see that? Yes. Do you remember who that reporter was? No, I do not. It looks like the next thing you did happened 15 minutes later. So were you on the phone with that reporter for 15 minutes? No. Did the reporter send you any documents? No. After you got off the phone, did you access any documents before speaking to Ben? I can't recall. So it looks like at 4:15 you spoke with Ben regarding reporter info. Did you see that? Yes. So did you speak with him in person or on the phone? I believe it was on the phone. Do you remember where he was when you called him? No, I don't recall. What did you say? I can't recall the exact details of the conversation. I would like for you to try the best that you can because this is my only chance to ask you about it. That a reporter had called and that someone had filed a lawsuit against him. Okay, what did he tell you? I can't recall. Did he admit? I can't recall. Did he deny any wrongdoing? I can't recall the exact conversation. So much deflection. How long did you speak to him? It was very brief. Was there any sort of intent to follow up or next steps discussed? I can't recall. Did you tell him there was going to be an investigation by the sheriff's department into these allegations? No, I don't recall telling him that at that time. And it says, then it looks like the next thing on your timeline is from 4 p.m. So did you leave the office between 2:15 when you talked to Ben Fields and 4 p.m. when you talked to Kraft and Kinzer? No. You stayed in the office. Did you talk to anybody else during that time period? Yeah, I talked to LaShawna Frazier and Christine. What did you all talk about? I told them that I got a call from a reporter and a lawsuit had been filed against Ben. What did they say? They were shocked. Did you look up Sabrina Atkins? Did the reporter give you her name? I don't recall. Did you access any court records in that time period? I don't recall. Okay, did you know Judge Kraft and Robbie Kinzer were coming down to talk to you before they showed up? Nope, they just showed up. Okay, so on your timeline, you say Judge Kraft and Robbie with drug court regarding Brianna and Sabrina. So you already knew the names Brianna and Sabrina before they showed up? No. What do you recall them telling you? I'm trying to remember. They came into the office and told me that Ben had been fooling around with a drug court participant. Okay. Brianna Cornett. And that Stacey Yates had reported that he had been fooling with Sabrina Atkins, and this is when they mentioned something about messages. Was that their term of art, fooling? Did they use that phrase? I can't recall. So they told you that Ben had been fooling around with Brianna Cornett and told you that Stacey Yates had reported that there had been some sort of fooling around between Ben Fields and Sabrina Atkins. Did I understand that correctly? Yes. And that there were some messages? Yes. Did they tell you they had these messages? I don't recall, or I can't recall. Did they give you any copies of any messages? I can't recall. Did they tell you whether they reported it to anybody before reporting it to you? They advised me that they had not reported it to any law enforcement or anybody else. Okay, what about Judge Mullins? Do you think that he was aware? Did they tell you? No, they didn't tell me. Okay, did you say earlier that they were apologizing to you? Yes. Explain to me how they apologized to you. They just said that they were sorry that they didn't come and tell me when they first found out about it. So they knew. The judge knew and didn't tell the sheriff. Doesn't that not speak volumes to the culture that was awash in this courthouse? Or this courthouse was awash in this culture, right? They knew about it. The judge knew about it. Didn't bring it up to his boss. Didn't think that that was necessary. Do you know why? Because it was happening all the time. That's what I think. It was happening all the time. They found out they were fooling around. And okay, yeah, fooling around. That's what people do, I guess. Oh my goodness. Okay, what did you say to them? Yeah, you should have come and told me. I am the sheriff. You know that I am going to want to know that. Okay, after that, can you think of anything else that was discussed in that meeting? Any next steps discussed? Not that I can recall. Okay, it looks like the next thing that you did was tell me this was Frazier and Bowling a part of that meeting with Kraft and Kinzer? No. It was just the three of you? Yes. Okay, after Judge Kraft and Robbie Kinzer left, did you tell Frazier and Bowling you talked to them again as you had after you spoke to Ben? Not that I recall. Oh my goodness. What? Oh my goodness. This kills me, man. And it was a poor choice of words. But this is terrible. Terrible. Let's see if there are any other. Yeah, KG says, it's a wonder this guy remembers how to tie his shoelaces. Yeah, I don't recall. KG does not recall, right? They are just, I would be head desking at all that I don't recall. Yeah. Yeah, he is. Yeah, Jeanette says a lot of information that puts him in a good light is all he shares. It's just, yeah. Okay, guys. So I'm going to post this on Patreon for my patrons. I'll do that shortly after the live stream ends. So glad that you spent some time with me today. We're still trying to figure out what led to this. And tomorrow we are going to go in and check out another. Let me bring it up real quick so that I can remember which one we're going to do. Oh, yes. We are jumping into the Ben Fields testimony, everybody. This is what we're going to be doing tomorrow. We have a transcript of a deposition from Ben Fields that we're going to be looking at together. So hopefully you won't want to miss that. While I've got the website up here, remember, guys, you can always reach out to me on gavinfish.com. Click on this little icon here. That will send you to a contact page. Remember about CrimeCod. Click on CrimeCod. That'll take you to my true crime website that has all sorts of headlines of stuff that is going on. Also, visit the fish tank. We got 3,500 members now. We're talking about all sorts of stuff, including the videos that we do here on YouTube, but other cases as well. So if you have not, if that's your thing, you're on Facebook, you haven't come and visited us yet, please do so. I invite you to do that. Should we watch that video again? I mean, it is a sponsorship. Let's watch the video again, and then we will call it a day. You ready? Here we go. My delicious skin, and this video is brought to you by Irish Spring. I get asked all the time about my skincare routine. People want to know, Gavin, what's your secret? How do you keep your skin looking so good? Well, I'll tell you, it's Irish Spring. Every time I shower, I use it on my face. No serums, no 10-step regimens, just Irish Spring. And it works. My skin stays clean, refreshed, and balanced. A lot of skincare products promise hydration, deep cleansing, even anti-aging benefits. Irish Spring, it just does the job. It keeps my skin looking and feeling incredible without the hassle. So if you're overcomplicating your skincare, maybe it's time to simplify. Trust me, Irish Spring, it's all you need. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.